Welcome to a world where every story hides secrets and every family gathering holds untold tension. Here, ridicule can mask fortune, whispered insults can hide long held betrayals, and patience can turn weakness into unstoppable power. Watch as quiet endurance becomes a weapon, as carefully timed moments reveal truths that shock even the closest loved ones. This is a place where sibling rivalries, envy, and hidden resentments collide with unexpected twists of fate. Every revelation exposes raw emotions, tests loyalties, and transforms ordinary relationships into unforgettable drama. From family betrayals to shocking secrets about husbands, from moments of humiliation to meticulously planned awakenings, these stories show the thin line between judgment and justice. If you love immersive, emotionally charged tales that combine suspense, heartbreak, and ultimate triumph, you're in the right place, where the underestimated rise and every secret eventually comes to light. For years, the house echoed with snickers and whispered judgments, every family gathering a reminder that worth was measured in appearances and designer labels. A nickname thrown casually stuck like a brand, thrift store girl. Every glance that lingered too long on secondhand shoes, every chuckle at a carefully chosen bargain carried the weight of assumptions that seemed impossible to shake. It was exhausting carrying the quiet smile while enduring subtle barbs, the conversations filled with backhanded compliments and pointed comparisons. Yet, beneath the surface, there was a life no one could have guessed, a life quietly thriving while others assumed it was modest, even fragile. Behind closed doors, a fortune had been growing, invisible and untouchable, a stark contrast to the shallow judgments cast by those who claimed familiarity. Investments meticulously managed, assets quietly acquired, and every choice made with patience and discretion. While laughter and ridicule rang in the open, the hidden reality expanded in ways that would shock anyone who had ever underestimated. The irony became almost sweet. Every insult, every smirk only sharpened the anticipation of the eventual reveal. Even the husband, whose presence had always seemed supportive, hid shadows of deceit. The couple's shared life was a battlefield of small betrayals, secrets exchanged in silence, a careful dance of appearances. Love and loyalty were tested in ways that no one outside the walls could see, creating an undercurrent of tension stronger than any overt hostility from the family. Every decision, every gesture was a strategic move, an investment in both security and eventual vindication. Then came the day when appearances finally collided with truth. The whispered judgments and derisive laughter met the reality no one could ignore. An account so vast it rendered past opinions meaningless, a fortune that demanded acknowledgement. The disbelief in the room was tangible, the same eyes that had mocked, now wide with shock, unable to mask the realization that the assumptions had been catastrophically wrong. The quiet strength, the patience, the hidden life, all of it surged forward like a tide that could no longer be contained. The silence that followed was absolute, a testament to the power of underestimated worth, the quiet vengeance of a life that had been quietly winning all along. Every gathering felt like a performance, a carefully choreographed display of judgment and superiority. The laughter was sharp, the compliments hollow, and beneath every smile lay a simmering resentment that had taken years to cultivate. Sibling rivalries ran deep, fueled by whispered comparisons and endless reminders of past failures and perceived shortcomings. The walls of the house carried the echoes of jealousy, of grudges that had been nurtured quietly, invisibly, like seeds waiting for the right moment to bloom into confrontation. It wasn't just playful teasing or harmless competition. There were secrets, small betrayals that accumulated over time, creating an invisible web of tension and distrust. Family members, masked with politeness, traded subtle digs in corners and exchanged knowing glances that cut deeper than any words could. Even the husband, who seemed steadfast and loving, held fragments of truth that had been carefully hidden, secrets that carried weight heavier than any judgment from the outside. Every decision, every word was calculated. Every small kindness had a shadowed undertone, a test of loyalty and patience that no one outside the family could understand. Years of this quiet warfare left its mark, shaping interactions, influencing choices, and creating an unspoken hierarchy where envy dictated behavior more than affection. What seemed like ordinary sibling squabbles or parental favoritism was a sophisticated dance of manipulation and self-preservation. The house was a stage, but the performances concealed truths far more complex than anyone could see. Every smile had a double meaning, every act of generosity carried a hint of expectation, and every conversation was a minefield of subtle provocations. And yet, in the midst of this carefully constructed world of resentment, patience grew like a quiet fire. Observing, waiting, understanding the patterns, the weaknesses, the unspoken alliances, it all became part of a strategy that would eventually shift the balance. The day came when whispered comparisons and long-held judgments collided with undeniable reality, a moment that shattered assumptions and left the family stunned. The truths that had been hidden, the betrayals that had been masked by courtesy and laughter, finally surfaced in a way that no one could ignore. The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was the sound of grudges confronted, of envy undone, and of a carefully measured life finally claiming its place. Life has a way of turning quiet patience into sharp revelation. The very people who once laughed, mocked, and dismissed seemed untouchable, yet fortunes have a strange way of revealing themselves at the precise moment when it matters most. What was once seen as weakness, timid smiles, soft words, carefully measured patience, became the instrument of power, a leverage no one saw coming. Every insult, every dismissive glance, every underhanded joke became fuel for a carefully orchestrated awakening that would leave the household stunned. Timing mattered more than anything. The husband, whose hidden actions had once caused doubt and whispered suspicions, became both an ally and an unpredictable variable. The truth, long buried beneath layers of routine, appearances, and half-hidden betrayals, emerged in the quietest yet most devastating way. The wealth that had been quietly built, the choices made behind closed doors, and the patience exercised through years of subtle humiliation converged into a single, undeniable revelation. Laughter turned to silence, whispers to shocked gasps, and every eye that had once judged now stared, uncomprehending at what had been concealed for so long. There were no grand confrontations, no dramatic speeches, just the weight of truth unfolding naturally, almost cruelly in its own time. The tables turned effortlessly, as if the universe itself had grown tired of injustice and decided to intervene. The raw emotions in the room shifted from superiority and scorn to awe, disbelief, and even envy. Secrets that had once been locked away in hushed corners became visible, undeniable, leaving nothing unchallenged and no assumption safe. The greatest power lay not in anger or revenge, but in the subtle, patient accumulation of control. Every decision, every move, every carefully measured step had been leading to this moment, and when it came, the transformation was complete. The laughter and ridicule that had once seemed permanent were replaced with stunned silence, the realization that what had been underestimated was in fact untouchable. And in that silence, the truth landed like a stone, heavy and irreversible. Years of quiet endurance had a way of shaping clarity, sharpening instincts, and teaching patience that no one else could understand. Every insult, every whispered comment, every judgment passed in passing contributed to a meticulous strategy that had taken time, observation, and resilience to perfect. The family, so confident in their superiority, never imagined that the humiliation they inflicted could be transformed into a carefully measured awakening. Each victory was hidden, subtle, woven into decisions that appeared ordinary but carried consequences far beyond their awareness. The husband, whose role had always seemed loyal and predictable, held secrets that had silently tested boundaries, revealed weaknesses, and added a layer of tension that demanded vigilance. These revelations, though deeply personal, intersected with the larger story of family dynamics in ways that none could anticipate. Quiet triumphs built slowly over time became undeniable proof that every slight, every snicker, and every act of condescension had been powerless to stop what was quietly being achieved behind closed doors. When the moment arrived, the shift was almost imperceptible at first. Conversations that had once been filled with mockery turned awkward. Subtle acknowledgments replaced dismissive gestures. The family, so confident in the hierarchy they had created, now faced the unraveling of their assumptions, one careful step at a time. Every revelation, whether about hidden wealth, secret accomplishments, or long overlooked loyalty, reshaped relationships and exposed vulnerabilities that had been concealed for years. The most potent part of the transformation wasn't wealth, nor revenge, nor exposure. It was the recalibration of perception. Trust was tested, alliances were questioned, and loyalties realigned. The world that had been familiar for so long was now unpredictable, and the power balance had shifted irrevocably. The quiet, underestimated presence that had endured every insult without reaction now became the undeniable center of authority. And as the family finally absorbed what had been hidden for so long, the wealth, the strategy, the patience, the truth settled like a weight on the room, undeniable and irreversible. Every hidden victory, every secret carefully preserved, every act of endurance culminated in a moment that redefined everything they thought they knew. The silence that followed carried more justice than any words ever could. Thanks for joining today's journey through secrets, betrayal, and ultimate triumph. If these twists, emotional paybacks, and shocking revelations kept you on the edge of your seat, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a story where hidden truths rewrite everything. Every week, new stories reveal the strength, patience, and quiet power behind every underestimated life. Stay tuned, because in this channel, no secret stays buried for long, and every twist of fate leaves its mark.